Do you think you have a choice? You walk into a supermarket. You see Coke and Pepsi. You think that is competition. You see Apple and Microsoft. You think that is a rivalry. You turn on the news. You see Fox News and CNN. You think those are opposing views. But what if I told you that all that choice is just an illusion? A carefully orchestrated play to make you believe the free market still exists. The brutal reality is your savings, the house you were paying off, and even the price of the bread you bought this morning are not decided by supply and demand. They are decided by a single entity, an entity that is not a bank, not a government, and certainly not you. It is a shadow company operating right in plain sight, but no one sees it. While you are struggling with inflation eating away at every paycheck, while you fear losing your job tomorrow, this company is silently buying up the whole world for pennies on the dollar. They do not just want your money, they want to own everything. Today, we are not talking about empty theory. We are going to peel back the layers of the $20 trillion machine that is controlling the earth. We are going to find the puppeteer behind the velvet curtain. Before we go down this rabbit hole, I want to know where you stand in this fight. Where are you watching this video from? Let us know in the comments so we know how strong the community of truth seekers is growing. And if you are ready to hear the naked truths that the mainstream press never dares to publish, hit subscribe right now, because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at your wallet.
To understand the monster, we have to go back in time to the moment it was born. And believe me, it did not start in a fancy boardroom. It started from a humiliating failure. 1986. Larry Fink, a rising star on Wall Street, a golden boy of investment bank First Boston. He had made the company billions of dollars. He was king. But then just one mistake in predicting interest rates. Larry Fink cost First Boston $100 million in just one quarter. From a hero, he became a sinner. He was fired. That humiliation haunted Larry Fink, but instead of collapsing, he learned a bloody lesson. Risk is the biggest enemy. If he could see the risk before it happened, he would never lose again. And BlackRock was born from those ashes in 1988 with a single goal: to control risk better than anyone else on this planet. But this is where the story gets suspicious. Look at the financial crisis of 2008. Do you remember? Lehman Brothers collapsed. The market panicked. Millions of Americans lost their homes. The global economy stood on the brink of the abyss. While the whole world was burning, who did the U.S. government call to put out the fire? They did not call the economists at Harvard. They did not call the politicians. They called Larry Fink and BlackRock. The Federal Reserve, the most powerful agency on currency, hired BlackRock to clean up the mess of Bear Stearns and AIG. Imagine this. A private company is given the power to manage hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayers' money to save the banks that caused the crisis. BlackRock became the cleaner for Wall Street, and in the process, they swallowed the most valuable assets for cheap prices. Sound familiar? Fast forward to 2020, a global pandemic, the economy frozen. Small businesses went bankrupt en masse. The stock market plunged, and once again, the Federal Reserve picked up the phone. Who was on the other end of the line? Still Larry Fink. This time, their power was even greater. The Fed authorized BlackRock to buy corporate bonds to stabilize the market. This means BlackRock, a private company, was entitled to decide which companies lived and which died using money printed out of thin air by the Fed. While you struggled to keep your small business, BlackRock was using government money to buy up large corporations. The largest transfer of wealth in human history took place right before our eyes, under the guise of a bailout. Sound familiar? 2023, banks like Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. Who stepped up to advise and reshape the game? Again, the shadow of BlackRock. Every time there is a crisis, they are not hurt. They become stronger. They are like a parasite, growing thanks to the decay of the host. But how do they do it? How can an asset management company foresee every move, always standing in the position of the house that never loses? The secret lies in something else, something cold, emotionless, and capable of calculations far beyond human intelligence. We are being ruled by an algorithm. And, sound familiar? When every decision about your life, from borrowing money to buy a house to the price of gasoline, is made by a machine that you do not even know exists.
This is where we have to stop and look at the truth. You think BlackRock is powerful because they have a lot of money? Wrong. Money is just ammunition. Their real weapon is information. BlackRock is not just a financial company. At its core, they are a technology company. In the 90s, Larry Fink gathered a small group of computer scientists, mathematicians, and physicists. Their mission was not to analyze stocks in the traditional way. Their mission was to build an artificial brain that could see risk in every corner of the world. They wanted to digitize greed, fear, and market chaos. They created a monster. A supercomputer, an early AI system before the term AI even became popular. It is not located at the headquarters in New York. Its heart lies in a giant server farm, heavily guarded in Wenatchee, Washington, where the cool climate helps soothe the processors running at full capacity 24/7. This system does not just manage BlackRock's money, it manages the money of BlackRock's competitors. Vanguard uses it, State Street uses it, Japan's pension funds use it, the European Central Bank uses it. Even Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet rely on it to manage their massive cash hoards. When you combine it all, this system is monitoring at least $21 trillion of global assets. This number is larger than the GDP of the US. It is larger than the GDP of the entire European Union. Its name sounds harmless, like something out of a fairy tale. But do not let that name fool you. This is the Eye of Sauron in the financial world. It sees every transaction, every debt, every risk of every country, every company, every individual. You won't believe the name. It is called Aladdin. But unlike the boy in the fairy tale who only had 3 wishes, this Aladdin has infinite power to shape our reality. And the receipt for dependence on this machine? It is wilder than you think.
Now take a deep breath. We are going into the most important part, how Aladdin really works and why it is so dangerous. Aladdin stands for Asset, Liability, Debt and Derivative Investment Network. Sounds complicated, but let me simplify it for you with a brutal metaphor. Imagine the global financial market is a giant highway with billions of cars running. In the past, each car, representing banks and investment funds, had its own driver. They drove themselves, looked at the road, avoided collisions. Sometimes there were accidents, but they were only local. But today,
Aladdin is the autopilot system installed on all the biggest cars on that highway. When BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and central banks all use Aladdin to assess risk, they no longer think independently. They look at the world through the same lens. They use the same data. They react with the same algorithm. This is risk synchronization. First, the power of data monopoly. Aladdin performs over 200 million calculations every week to simulate every possible scenario in the world. If oil prices rise 5%, what happens to German bonds? If war breaks out in the Middle East, what happens to the California Teachers' Pension Fund? If inflation in the U.S. exceeds 4%, what happens to house prices in London? It runs thousands of stress tests, Monte Carlo simulations every day. It knows the risk before anyone realizes it. That is why in the 2008 crisis, when everyone was panicking, Larry Fink and Aladdin knew exactly which assets were toxic and which were valuable. They used this magic eye to advise the U.S. government, and of course, to profit for themselves. Second, the illusion of the free market. Look at these shocking numbers to see the scale of the manipulation. Aladdin monitors over $21 trillion. BlackRock owns shares in 98% of the companies in the S&P 500. They are the largest or second largest shareholders in America's largest banks: J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They own the largest media companies: Disney, Comcast, Warner Bros. They own the largest pharmaceutical companies: Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson. When Aladdin signals sell, not only BlackRock sells, Vanguard sells, State Street sells, pension funds sell, because they all believe in the same brain. This creates tsunamis in the market that no individual investor can withstand. This is not investment. This is programmed manipulation. Third, parasitic finance. The scariest thing is that BlackRock makes money whether the market goes up or down. They collect management fees on that huge pile of assets. If you profit, they collect fees. If you lose, they still collect fees. If the economy collapses and the government has to print bailout money, that cash flow flows back into the assets that Aladdin manages. This is a parasitic finance model. They suck the blood of the real economy. They do not create products, do not build factories, do not create real surplus value. They just move numbers on a screen and extract prosperity from your labor. Fourth, ESG scores, a tool of social control. Aladdin does not stop at money. It is being used to impose social programs through ESG, environment, social, and governance. Larry Fink has publicly stated behaviors have to be forced. Through Aladdin, BlackRock can lower the credit scores of companies that do not follow their agenda. Want to borrow capital to expand production? Is your ESG score low because you do not support green energy? Aladdin says no. Capital flow is cut off. This is how they force companies to follow political ideologies without going through laws or elections. Fifth, the scam of safety. They sell us the idea that Aladdin makes the market safer, that risk is controlled. That is a great lie. In fact, Aladdin has created a systemic risk greater than ever before. Let's go back to the example of self-driving cars. If all cars run the same software, and that software has a glitch, or is hacked, or makes a wrong decision, then not just one car crashes, all cars crash at the same time. We are betting the entire global economy on a single algorithm, a single point of failure. And when it collapses, and it will collapse, the consequence will not be a recession. It will be the erasure of wealth on a scale history has never witnessed. This is the ultimate arrogance of the elite. They believe they can tame the chaos of the world with lines of code. But financial history has taught us a painful lesson. When humans believe they have eliminated risk, that is when risk returns with its most brutal face.
So where do we stand? We are living in a world where power no longer lies in the ballot box. Real power lies in the cold servers in Wenatchee, Washington. Aladdin does not care how hard you work. It does not care about your retirement dreams. It only cares about optimizing profits for BlackRock and maintaining the position of the elite. The danger is not just money. The danger is that we are trading freedom for an illusion of safety. We have allowed a shadow company to become the fourth branch of government, a branch that is unelected, uncontrolled, and cannot be deposed. The next crisis will happen faster, be more brutal, and be more global in scale than anything we have ever seen, because the modern financial system is too tightly connected through Aladdin. When the music stops, people like Larry Fink will have a chair, and you will be the one paying for that ruined party. Do not let denial lull you to sleep. Do not trust the promises of financial institutions living on borrowed time. You need to be alert. You need to diversify. You need to understand the rules of the game so you do not become its victim. If this video helped you see the strings pulling the puppets, share it. Spread this skepticism. Do not let them continue to operate in the dark. And ask yourself this final question before you turn this off. Are we wiser now or walking the same path in better suits? Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because our fight to reclaim the truth about money is just beginning. I will see you in the next video where we will continue to expose the greatest lies. Goodbye and victory.